Salon owners with ADHD, quick question for you. When was the last time you filled your cup? Put your needs first. Thought so. I'm running a second healthy, wealthy and kind retreat in Bali this August. First one sold out just from word of mouth. So if you know it's time to reset, let me show you how. Tapping into your ADHD is a game changer, and so is filling your cup. Just because you can do it all doesn't mean you should. Stepping aside can reveal a lot. Allows your team to step up. 5 days with a tribe of like-minded people is very powerful. Tap the link below, check it all out. Your future self will thank you. Now, back to the show. Hello and welcome back. If you're listening to this, it's because you have a salon team or you'd like a salon team. Salon teams are the best, but there's a fair bit of work that needs to be done before you can say, I'm really happy with my productive, no drama salon team. And I think they're probably the two key words, no drama and productive. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about chapter 8, which is about passion and skill. And I made this mistake for many, many years. I chased people who had more skill than me. As in, I chased people who could do my client load. And I would often come across young people that wanted to learn from me and learn the trade, and that was not a problem for me. I actually loved teaching. So I loved teaching the juniors. But what I would struggle with, and maybe it's because I was 50 kilometres outside of a city, that I struggled to get the seniors, the 28-year-old type hairdresser, because I had this belief that they would come to me as a teenager, 17, 18-year-old. I'd teach them for a couple of years and then they'd get to 22, 23 and have a full wage and off they'd go into the big smoke. And can you blame them, really? And so what I learnt was I was whinging and bitching about that for a bit until someone told me to stop it, which was pretty blunt, but it was very what I needed. And so what I realised was I was chasing people who had skill because I wasn't attracting people who had skill. So I wanted someone to take my workload. And I was doing that because I wanted it now. And that was an impatient me. And I'm still impatient to this day. I'm probably not as bad as I once was, which is pretty amazing. But in your 60s, you probably should slow down with the I'm impatient category. And so I wanted to find someone who could cut and colour my hair, my client's hair tomorrow, because I wanted to get off the floor so that I could help train my juniors. And every time I did it didn't work, really didn't work. And because I'm not saying you can't have skill and passion, because you can. And that was me. I had the skill and I had the passion. But what I didn't realise is some people have the skill and they don't have the passion, or they're just a dead set pain in the ass and you can't work with them. They're moody and they're inconsistent and they don't want to recommend retail or they don't want to rebook. They just want to cut hair. And in your case, it might be they want to do the beauty services, but they don't want to do all the other things. They're not a good team player. And then what happens is the amount of effort and work that you have to put in to get these people just to behave like a proper team member, it's a bit shit, I've got to tell you. So what I learned very early on, and I remember the last girl that I said to her, I was doing a coaching program with someone and it was talking a lot about me as a leader, and I hadn't really made that connection that I was the problem. Now I do. Every time something's going tits up in my business, it's me. I'm the first to say, what could I do differently? And back then I didn't. I thought, no, this is what's wrong with people. They do this and they do that and blame, blame, blame. Nothing happens when you blame. So it was a really confronting conversation. I remember having it, and then I remember going back to the salon and asking the girl, could I meet with her and we could have a chat. She did. Yeah, she really liked me and respected me, and so we sat down and had a chat, and I asked her about her moodiness and was it a problem in other parts of her life? And she said, yeah, you ring my mum, she'll tell you, ring my sisters, they'll tell you. And I said to her, was she prepared to work on it? Because I said, it can't stay. Right? Your mood swings cannot stay. I said, you can stay, and there's two of you, and when the one that does her work and skips into the salon, who's had enough sleep, who hasn't been smoking dope the night before and whatever else she did, I don't know, she admitted to that one, then you're a ripper. You're an absolute ripper. So if you're American and you're listening to that, a ripper's a good thing, right? So you are a good thing. However, when you don't look after yourself and you come in, hungover or overtired or grumpy, or you had an argument with your boyfriend and your sister, you're a dead set pain in the ass, right? You hardly speak to your client. And even though your work doesn't change, you still give the best haircuts and the greatest blow waves and all that of all time, you're a dead set pain in the ass. And because I want a full and remarkable solution for my salon clients, because that's my future and my livelihood, and that pays your wage and my wage and everything, I'm not prepared to stand for it anymore. And she was a bit taken back, and she said, no, you're right. She said, no one's ever called me on it. And she was grateful that I did. So I said, okay, good. She resigned within, I don't think it was a week, but it was definitely under 2, because she couldn't do it. She absolutely couldn't do it. Even though she wanted it, she couldn't do it. So the first opportunity for her to blame something, I remember it was a junior she was having trouble with, and they just didn't get along because this girl was inflexible, like you wouldn't believe. And I wanted them to come together and have a conversation about it and get to the bottom of why they clashed like two roosters in a chook house. She opted out. She didn't want to do it. She left. I said, okay, that's fine. I'll let her go. And I've never, ever tolerated anyone with a higher level of skill than a higher level of passion, right? So she was happy to learn the trade, and you could send her to any course and she'd go, but she wasn't happy to learn how to service clients better. She wasn't happy to learn how to navigate tricky situations with people that she didn't particularly like, and she just didn't have the passion for working in a salon like mine, which was open and honest and transparent. So that's where the passion fell over, and that was the last one. So what I did after that was I thought, you know what, if I spent half as much time looking after the younger ones on my team and teaching them to cut like she did and colour like she did, I'd be there. And I did, but I didn't get there overnight. It probably took me maybe 10 to 12 months. And then I had 2 girls who cut like I did, who coloured like I did, and then I fixed my problem. So sometimes the answer is under your nose. The hardest thing I find for most people to do is to have a really courageous conversation with somebody who is just, I don't know, substandard or negative or, moody. And I think when we don't address that moody stuff, and the reason we often don't is because if I mention that to her, she's going to sulk all day, so we can't be bothered. So you don't, and guess what? She gets away with it. And then you're letting behaviour go unaddressed, and even though you're not saying, oh, that's a really good behaviour by shitty Mary over there, that's what you're really saying, right? And when you address it, you're standing up for the rights of the other people in your salon and standing up for the rights for your clients. And so that's really, really important. So I think when I think about the problems when people have a new team member, everyone behaves on the first day in the first week, let's be honest, right? And then what happens is they kind of fall over or whatever, because people who are faking it can't continue to. They can pretend for a little bit, but they can't continue. So I think the answer is that you've got to trust your gut and employ them, but I think you've got to squeeze them really hard. And in the chapter I talk about, if you could work it out in 8 days or 8 hours, even 8 weeks, but 8 months, the amount of time that I've spent getting a person to speak up and have their say, to get rid of that first one, because the person won't step up and the owner won't let them go. And this is a very, very bad strategy. But once you do that the first time, and it takes time because it's got to be, you have to take those lessons on, go back, learn, speak, see what happens, and they will, improve by a point, but then they'll slot back. And so to me, it's like the red flags you need to look for, I think, are A, B, C, the all stars, When people, you ask them about this, oh yeah, they've done that. Yep, they've done that. They're the all-stars. So A stands for the all-stars. They know it all. Nobody knows it all. So that's a red flag for me. B is the blaming. They just blame, oh, that's because this and that's because that, and they just blame. And the third one is the complaining. They just complain about shit. I think, really? What are you doing? Like, if you're perfect, then you can complain. But I think, to me, that's the red flags, the all-stars. They know everything. The B, the blamers, and the C's are complainers. That's it. Mood swings. Oh, I can't cope. Mood swings. I just like people who can see the good in the world, because the world doesn't change, just your attitude towards the world changes. But I think what you've got to do is just really, really hone in on them in the early days, and they'll either love your attention or they'll feel pressured. And if they feel pressured, it's generally because they're acting and they can't continue to act. So sit back, listen to this chapter. It's going to be really helpful. I know it is. So passion versus skill. Passion every time. Skill we can teach. Passion and attitude and people who are grateful, who want to learn. And that's something, not saying we can't improve it, but it's way easier to teach skill. Let me tell you that. So I hope you enjoyed this chapter, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.
Okay, chapter 8. Passion versus skill. Going deep through in the interview and those first few weeks. One day, way back on the farm in Hopeton, I can remember my dad showing me how to mix up the horse feed in the stables. I didn't enjoy much about horses, but Dad needed my help. He pointed out that the dollar value of the 6 or so horses we were feeding spanned a big range. A couple of them weren't worth much at all, but one in particular was worth a bundle. Despite the figures, the horses' owners each valued their own horse, and to Dad, they all deserved the same exceptional care. Their money is all the same, he said. $50 is $50. He never took any horse's dollars value into consideration when he made up the feed, because his passion for what he did meant that every animal in his charge enjoyed the best possible care that he could provide. No compromises. That day, Dad's passion shone through, and I've carried the learnings with me ever since. The big question for salon owners and their team is, what's more important, passion or skill? I often see great people overlooked for salon positions because they don't have the required skill to fill that narrow hole the salon owner thinks needs plugging up. I made this mistake myself many times over before I realised that passion and skill actually come in that order. You can have a natural skill, but if it doesn't float your boat, you're just going through the motions. For example, I reckon I'm a great mentor, and you might think that means I could translate my skills to other industries beyond hair and beauty. Really? I think not. My passion lies in this one. Maybe I could coach clothing store owners, because that's another sector driven by personal appearance, and there's no way I could look after a plumber or electrician. Sure, like salon owners, those tradies would have an average dollar sale, they'd have a break-even point, and they'd need to have a plan. But it's just not my sweet spot. Your level of passion determines your perseverance and your tolerance to push through when you're not getting the results you want. Without passion, you'll give up at the first sign of struggle, and that's not the type of team member you want to be saddled with. So when it comes to finding the ideal person to join your salon team, how can you assess their level of passion? You don't know them well, and you might not only have 1 or 2 interview opportunities to discover more about them. The trouble is that people throw the word passion around like it's going out of style. It's simple for an interviewee to tell you that hairdressing or beauty is their passion. I suggest you take it with a grain of salt, and every time you hear that word in a job interview, rehear it in your head as blah, 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 because that's all it's really worth. They'll tell you almost anything to impress you in that interview. I'm going to teach you how to fish around, to dig deeper using better questions to flush out better answers. You'll be clued up with a much clearer understanding of whether the person in front of you truly does have the level of passion you're looking for. I've created a resource to help you. So go to www.yoursalonteam.com.au/resources and download my sample interview question sheet. Each of these questions relates directly back to better understanding the level of passion for whoever you're interviewing. I won't bore you here with a rundown of each question. Go have a look for yourself and you'll get where I'm coming from. But I do want to emphasise one question theme I can't recommend highly enough. What motivates you to do this work? Where is the buzz in it for you? At what moment do you say, yes, that's the reason I do what I do? For me, as a mentor, I love when someone says, I've just done this. I couldn't believe I could do it. I'm so proud of myself. Thank you for pushing me. For me, that's my buzz. In my work as a mentor, it's when I get this random text from a coaching client saying, for the first time in 10 years, I've just paid my BAS in full because the money was sitting in the offset account. My accountant says he's never been more proud of me. That's the example right there. I know you've developed good business practices and that someone other than myself is impressed. When you ask that question at an interview, there are things to look for. A sense of feeling or emotion that goes deeper than the word passion. It might go something like this. I love it when someone comes in for just a trim. And I know that if I ask the right questions, I can turn that simple trim request into much more than just a haircut. That would impress me. Or by exploring a much wider horizon or bigger picture that may include colour or basin services and the right products to support what they've just created for them, that's when I get the buzz right there. Or coming across a client who doesn't know what's available to them. So I take their skin from where it is today to having a glow about it. People don't know what's available and I love educating them because 9 out of 10 of them are so grateful for my knowledge. That one's impressive. Or being open and honest about what's possible, steering people around what won't work for them and steering them to what I know will work. That gives me such joy. Great, isn't it? Or drawing up a plan for someone's skin, setting up the samples and delivering the knowledge and service in a package that just flows out of me and into them. Wow. Or I get a buzz from solving people's problems with products. Most of them are that confused and they don't know where to start. So I break it down and I simplify it so they feel like I'm the solution for what they want to achieve. It's a bit like an interpreter. Then, when they return and thank me, I get so excited. Once they realise there's so much more they can be doing for their appearance, they're thrilled, and so am I. Any of these responses would be music to my ears. They strongly reflect how I feel about what I do. This kind of thinking is just in my DNA. I'm certain it stems from my father. Remember my horse story? I've always felt that our clients should each receive the same exceptional care, and I made sure my team understood this thinking too. I can recall a boss saying, I've booked in such and such. Make sure you look after her. I found this really offensive because I treated everybody equally well. Having passion about what you do means you can more easily roll with the ups and downs of the day-to-day salon life. You don't let mood swings or personal dramas get in the way of delivering an awesome experience for every client. Because you're driven by the client outcome, not the process or the money or the status. Let me tell you a story. It's a cautionary tale about inviting someone without passion to join your salon team. Leanne, not her real name, worked for me for only a few months before I figured her out. It was a long few months. Leanne could cut hair technically better than me, way better than me. What an awesome thing that could have been, if not for her moods. On a good day, Leanne had a pleasant enough personality. On a bad day, she barely spoke to her clients, not even for a tea or coffee order. I don't know how she thought she could manage a consultation without speaking. No matter her mood, her skill level was never compromised. Failing putting witches' hats around her chair to warn clients when she was having one of those bad days, I was at my wit's end. I had no idea what version of Leanne might appear on any given day. At times, Leanne even admitted to being a bitch. She knew her shortcomings, but felt unable to do anything about it. That's just me. I'm a proper bitch, and it doesn't really bother me. In the end, we parted ways because I couldn't keep taking myself and the rest of the team along for the ride on her emotional roller coaster. It was such a shame and such a waste of Leanne's skill. And I'm certain she's still a bitch. Her stinking attitude will still be hanging around wherever she is or isn't working today. I remember her negative stink would waft through the salon like that stinky odour you smell in the fridge. The one that gets up your nose whenever you open the door. You keep looking to see where it's coming from. In your fridge, it's nearly always something in the crisper, right at the back where it's not easy to see. You have to search for it. It's the same in the salon. It's nearly always a team member who lacks the passion to push herself through a mood swing or a not-so-great day. In your salon, a stinky smell like that is constantly distracting for you, your team, and your clients. Think about that stinky smell when you're next hiring. If you're aware, it will tease at your nose and tug at your gut instinct during the interview. You don't have to settle for someone who isn't right for your salon. Instead, go the extra mile and ask those deep diving questions to sniff out the real professional passion. 9 days, 9 weeks, 9 months. I wish there was a diagnosis kit available, something similar to a pregnancy test that you could use when hiring staff. How cool would that be? If you could simply ask for a urine sample from a possible team member to test and find out if they have the qualities, if they have the passion you're looking for. It could come back green for a big yes and a red for a definitely no. Okay. Enough with the dreaming already. In the absence of this diagnostic dipping stick, let's look at our other options. We all employ staff we wish we didn't. True? It's as though the person who shows up for the interview is not the same person you end up working side by side with a few weeks later. Most people put their best foot forward during an interview and also during the trade test. Some people are just not who they present to be, and it's our job to work that out as fast as we can. My experience is that when we all start to work with a new team member, we're still looking for things to appear. That's really the only way we can find out for sure. Put them into your business and work with them for a period of time. I've noticed that most salon owners have had very little practice in picking up the warning signs, even though they're always obvious in hindsight. The average time it takes to work out if a person is suitable or not is 9 months. For some reason, that's just the time it seems to take. It's almost as though you are pregnant with a bad team member. An experienced salon owner who has changed over many team members and been around in the industry for a few years would only take about 9 weeks to evaluate a new team member. That's great timing just before the 3-month probation period ends. Then there's someone like me who can tell you in just 9 days, less if I'm being really honest. There has to be some benefits to getting older, guys. Give me something, please. I can spot it miles away. Think about this. The longer you procrastinate and can't decide whether this person is or isn't suitable, the higher the risk is to your business. If they're not suitable in the end, they have been in contact with more of your clients than you'd prefer. The wrong person being a part of your team can do so much damage to your business in 9 months. On the other hand, 9 weeks is just a tad over the 2 months. Most of your clients will have only met this person once in that time. Knowing they're not right in 9 days means most of her clients would not have even met her at all. And they're a rotten apple. The least amount of time they have in touch with your clients and your team, the better. So watch them like a hawk, test their work, ring your clients to get feedback. Talk to your team members about how they feel around the new person and really do your homework so you're closer to the 9 days than the 9 months. Take off those rose-coloured glasses. Keep them for when you look at your family, the ones you have to keep. Evaluate, be honest with yourself and be prepared to make the decision early. Sometimes I think we want that client, that staff member to fit in so badly, we choose not to see what's really there, and that's dangerous. The nitty-gritty. Passion comes before skills. Download the sample interview questions to help you identify passion. Look for emotion in the answers. Don't settle for someone with no professional passion. They stink. When you get a new team member, watch them. Watch them carefully. Keep assessing whether they're right for your salon. Reduce the risk to your business by deciding earlier rather than later.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation and had a laugh along the way. If you want some more information on what was just discussed, or even just to connect with me, just check out the links in the show notes. Also, it would mean the world to me if you would like and share this podcast so that we can continue to grow together. I'll see you all next week.